What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be getting into my preseason NBA Power Rankings. The full NBA season starts tomorrow. Super hyped for that. But anyway, guys, let's get into our Power Rankings here. Starting out with the worst team, in my opinion. This can very much fluctuate because the season obviously hasn't started. But 30, I'm going to have the Houston Rockets. Just a team that's still very young, still very much rebuilding. Um, this is just another one of these seasons where I don't think the Rockets are going to be a very good team. I think they're probably going to be the worst team in basketball again this season. Obviously have some young pieces on that roster, but I don't think they're very well coached, and I just don't like their talent. So the Rockets are going to come in there at number 30. 29, Charlotte Hornets. Now, obviously, they have LaMelo Ball, which kind of separates them from a team like the Rockets. But other than that, they drafted Brandon Miller, I believe. But that's just not going to save this franchise. This team is still just very young. And LaMelo Ball is the brightest spot they got on this team. So the Hornets going to come in there at 29. 28, we have the Detroit Pistons. Same thing here with Detroit. Cade Cunningham, good rookie. This team is trying to build a very young roster. I believe, is Bojan Bogdanovic still on this team? Let's see. Yeah, Bogdanovic is still on the Detroit Pistons, which does give this team some hope. I think Bojan Bogdanovic is a really good player. Yeah, I really like Bojan as a guy. And then obviously Cade Cunningham still trying to develop. He's got to stay healthy this season. And they're obviously drafted some pieces in the draft that they're trying to develop here. But still, Detroit, very similar to those two teams. It's not great, but, I like Bojan. I like Cade Cunningham. I think this Detroit Pistons decently well coached. So I think this team is fair to put them at 28 right now. All right, moving on, we have the 27th team. That's going to be the Trailblazers. Obviously the big trade to Damian Lillard was tough, but this team got some assets in return that I think can help them out. Obviously Drew Holiday is not there because they traded him away to Boston, but this team is decent. They got some veterans on the team. Sorry, let me search something up real quick. Guys. He's on the Trailblazers, DeAndre Ayton. So DeAndre Ayton's a good player. They got some other players on that team, Nurkovic, some other guys that can help them win some games, but it's still not a great roster. There's a reason why they traded away Lillard, because they kind of wasted his prime. So they had to really start out here fresh in Portland and get a rebuild going. And I think that's what they're doing. Okay, number 26 now, we're going to have the Washington Wizards. The Wizards, another team, trading away Bradley Beal, their best player. He was really underrated in Washington. It's a rebuild season, but they do have players like Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul, which are good additions to the team. I like where the Wizards are at right now with their roster. And they got some young pieces. I really like to put some veteran rosters ahead of some of these younger teams here, because I just trust the veterans more than I do the young players. The young players are unproven. At least the teams that I think aren't going to be. At least the teams I think aren't proven. The Wizards have veterans. They have some young pieces that they're trying to build with. But, yeah, that's where I'm going to have the Wizards. I think they could be a frisky team. That's where I'm going to have Washington. But then the most exciting team by far, I think, on this year is going to be the 25th team, the San Antonio Spurs. This team's the most exciting, I think. by far on this team. One of the most exciting teams, I think, in the NBA right now with Victor Wembanyama, joining this team. Greg Popovich still coaching this team. Obviously, he's one of the best, if not the best coach in NBA history. That really helps out their case. San Antonio is going to be a tough team. If Victor Wembanyama is hyped up to be what he is, which it's kind of looking like that the way he's been playing in the preseason, it's not a great roster other than Victor, but Victor, he's a good player. He was drafted number 1 for a reason in the draft. So the Spurs should be happy with that. And they're going to come in there at 25. So that is my bad tier. Let's get on to the in the hunt tier. Now we're going to have a lot of weird teams upcoming. 2014, we're going to have the Raptors. I was debating putting this team in the bad tier, but I think they've got some roster talent in a bad, not bad, but Eastern Conference where the play-in's wide open, I think, right now. Toronto, obviously, Pascal Siakam. Some good players there. Vanderbilt. What's his face? The guy out of Florida State that they drafted a couple years ago. Forgot his name, but a really good player there. He's a power forward, I believe. But anyway, the Raptors, they have pieces, but I don't like the firing of their coach that brought them a championship. That just feels stupid to me. You just can't have that in the NBA. That good of a coach. He goes to Boston. I just don't like that really at all for Toronto, and I think that's going to shake up this team. This roster is decent, but not the best in the entire league. So that's where I really see the Raptors there at 24. Just a kind of a mid team. Okay, then 23, the Brooklyn Nets. You look at the Nets right now. The Nets are a team that I like. Personally, I think this team has a lot of good, solid pieces that can build a team to win and be a playoff team. Spencer Dinwiddie comes to mind on that roster. They got some good players. Let's look at the Nets roster here to get a perspective on them. Because Spencer Dinwiddie comes back to Brooklyn. Bridges, the player out of from the Suns that they traded away. They got some good young players there. Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal's a good, decent piece. So the Nets have talent. They're a decent team, not the best. Just your kind of average to below average team. That's really where I see the Nets at this point on this season. I don't think that's going to change as the year goes on. Just a decent in the hunt team that I think could slide into the play. All right, then 22, we have the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls are just such a weird team, honestly. I mean, they have the roster talent, man. With those big three, Vucevic there. What's his name, dude? Why do I always forget the Bulls? Zach LaVine, of course. Patrick Williams, good player. DeMar DeRozan is the big one. But, yeah, I mean, the Bulls, they have all those pieces, but they just, every year it seems like they're so inconsistent. They can't put it together, especially last year. So I just don't trust this roster. But, you got to give them respect. You got to put them in the play-in tier, I think. I think they have the roster talent, and I think they are a better team, very much a more upside team than I think the Nets and the Raptors, who I think are very low upside teams. The Bulls, very all over the place. I could see this team in the playoffs tier, probably not the contenders tier. Don't go that high, but I could also see this team completely falling off the rails and being one of the worst teams in the league. So the Bulls need to figure things out. They need to be more consistent. And yeah, this team's going to be probably fluctuating as we go through the year, as they did last year in my power rankings. But then 21, we have the Orlando Magic. And guys, the Magic. I am a believer in this Magic team. This team built some things at the end of the year. This Magic roster is pretty solid. They got some young pieces. Obviously, the player out of Gonzaga a couple years ago, they were really competitive as well last year. So this just feels like a team that's going to break out this season. Not as much as like a team like the Kings last year, but I could see it being similar where this team plays competitive, especially to start up the season, and makes it to the plan. I'm confident this is one of my sleeper teams right now. It's people that are not really picking on this team. I like the Magic right now in there. I think they're going to be a good rising team. That's my opinion right there. Let's see if it goes well. So the Magic coming at 21. 20, we have the Thunder. The Thunder are a good team. They got pieces. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, really good player. But this Western Conference just gets very tough to rank these teams. That's why this team would be in the play-in tier if it was in the East. That's why they're above a team like the Magic and the Bulls. The East is – the West is just so tough to win. And to be honest with you, I really like this Thunder team and what they built with Shai and all their pieces around him. Obviously, have had a lot of picks throughout the years. So this team is a riser for sure. And this team's going to be scary in a few years. They made the play-in tournament last year, just didn't quite put things together in that game. But, yeah, I could for sure see a world where the Thunder surprise. I think this team's going to be pretty good. At 20, there's a lot of good teams ahead of them, though, I think. And there's just good teams in the NBA nowadays, so you got to be a really good team to even make this play-in tournament. So, especially in the West. So the Thunder are going to come in at 20. I like the Thunder, but I'm going to put them in the hunt here. Okay, 19, we have the Atlanta Hawks right there. And Atlanta, pick your poison, I think, with this team, where you're going to rank them. They got the roster talent, Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. But other than that, I don't like this team very much. Clint Capella's getting up there in age. This roster, they had to trade away Collins, who didn't do much for them last year. And yeah, I don't know. It's really Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. And we saw it last season where if those two aren't really hitting, this team isn't great. They are a good play-in team that probably is going to turn things on in the play-in tournament. But that's all they're going to do. I don't think they're going to make some incredible run in the playoffs. Trae Young is a phenomenal player, but he is not going to do enough for the Atlanta Hawks. So I got to put the Hawks at 19. Another team I'm just questioning right now, is this team any good? In the Eastern Conference, I don't see a world where Trae Young misses the plan, but it could happen. I also don't see a world where this team is top in the league. So, the Hawks are a weird team, but they're going to come in the play too. Okay, number 18, we have the New Orleans Pelicans. And surprise, surprise, the Pelicans are going to be in the hunt here. This team, if they don't have Zion, can I trust Zion being healthy for an entire season? I just cannot trust that. And when he is not healthy last year, we saw this team just completely fall apart without Zion Williamson. So I just don't know. With Zion Williamson, last year this team was very good. I don't know if Zion Williamson is enough. He's got to stay healthy, got to figure out those injury concerns. But, yeah, the Pelicans, Brandon Ingram's obviously there. You got C.J. McCollum, but I don't know. The Pelicans, another uncertainty team that I'm just not too comfortable with ranking high right now. And in the Western Conference, if you're inconsistent, there's a lot of good teams in the NBA right now. Even the Thunder, very solid team in the West, they could overtake them. So, Pelicans, I'm not too confident in, but they're going to come in at 18. Number 17, the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are going to be your first play-in team from the Western Conference here. Memphis, I was debating between Pelicans, Memphis. I'm going to go with the Memphis Grizzlies. This is a ranking without John Morant. This Memphis Grizzlies always seems to be a really solid team, even without Ja. You know, they obviously Steven Adams being out for the season's tough, but they made some acquisitions in the offseason that was big. Marcus Smart comes to mind. He's a good player for the Memphis Grizzlies. So, yeah, I mean, the Memphis Grizzlies have those pieces. They've proven it over the past few years that this team can be a good team. In the Western Conference, it's tough because, like I said, I'm very high on this Western Conference this season, but I still think that the Grizzlies are going to be a good to solid team, I think, and that's just been proven over the past few years. Probably if this team could just stay afloat, without Ja till he comes back, we know what Ja is. He's going to be very good. So yeah, the Grizzlies just need to stay afloat right now because this team has been the 2 seed, 1 seed, or 3 seed, I think, maybe even the 2 seed the past few years. But yeah, the Grizzlies, really good team. Okay, 16. We have another surprise team, the Indiana Pacers. This team was a riser last year. The Pacers were playing very good to start out the year, kind of slowed down to end the year, but man, the Pacers are another very young team. Halberton, I mean, what's his face? Their rookie that was balling out last year. Forgot his name. Let's search it up. Obviously Miles Turner. I need to find him. Once I can't remember a name, I just gotta find it. Buddy Hield, Bennett Mathurin out of Arizona. I am very high on him. I was very impressed from what I saw from him in Arizona as a big college basketball fan. He's very, very good. So I really like that for the Indiana Pacers. This team, very big rising team. I think they're going to take a big step this season. They're going to be a good team and a play-in tournament team. They're going to just keep taking steps. I believe in the Indiana Pacers as a franchise. But then number 15, we have the Utah Jazz. Another surprise team up here, another rising team. Lauri Markkanen is a very, very underrated player at this point. The Jazz might be a little bit biased as a Jazz fan, but my oh my, I believe in the Utah Jazz and what they built. Trading for Collins out of the Hawks. They got Jordan Clarkson. They got a lot of other pieces on this team that are very good. Obviously Walker Kessler's was a breakout star last season as a rookie. So the Utah Jazz are just going to be better than I think they were last season. Again, in the West, it's very tough. You got the Pelicans below them, the Thunder, very solid team as well. I don't think they're too higher up than those teams. I think that this once you get to like the Hawks through this Jazz team, this tier becomes very clustered. You can really mix these teams up wherever you want. As a Jazz fan, I'm going to believe in this team. I'm going to put my faith in what Will Hardy has for the Utah Jazz, and they're going to be the 15th best team inside the middle part of this tier. Okay, number 14, the Los Angeles Lakers come in here. And I'm not going to put the Lakers high like I did last season to start of the year because I just don't trust this team in general. The past couple of years have just been lets down after lets down. Obviously you have LeBron James, which is going to raise your ceiling and floor for this team. Anthony Davis, can he stay healthy? I'm just not going to put this team high, though. I need to see it to believe it at this point with the Lakers. I did like what they did with D'Angelo Russell and Jared Vanderbilt with that trade. Good pieces, good additions in the after the trade deadline, and they were a pretty good team after that. So the Lakers should, I think, probably make the play-in tournament. I kept them out of the play-in tournament in my season predictions video, but probably that was a wrong pick. But I don't know. The Western Conference is so crazy. I have to see it to believe it with the Los Angeles Lakers, to be honest with you guys. Okay, then number 13, we're going to have the Minnesota Timberwolves. Rudy Gobert and the Timberwolves team. trying to bounce back here. Carl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards. We all know that the potential of this team, if they can just figure things out, which I think I'm going to put my faith in Gobert as a Jazz fan. Rudy Gobert was so freaking good for us. He gets too much hate, especially after last season. People are just feeding off of that for whatever reason. Rudy Gobert is a great player. He's a great person as well. So the Timberwolves, I think, are going to be back better than ever this season, better than any Timberwolves team I can remember. Anthony Edwards is obviously the best player on this team, I think, even better than Karl Anthony Towns. So this team, I think, might be getting slept on a little bit. I like this team, and they're going to come in there at 13. Number 12, we're going to have the Dallas Mavericks here. And the Mavericks, we're into this playoffs here, so the Mavericks are just a little. I'm going to put my faith in Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is one of the best, arguably the best player in the entire league. And then if I think with an offseason, Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving can get some things on pace. Obviously I'm not, too high. I'm not going to put this team in the contenders tier because of the kind of the question marks. But still, the Dallas Mavericks, if they can figure some things out, this team can be very good. All right, the Sixers, and I'm just done, honestly, at number 11. I'm just done putting the Sixers into contenders tier because this team just doesn't show up in the playoffs, and it's just a factor. You got to put in this as a regular season team with Joel Embiid and James Harden. I just don't trust this team in the playoffs, and that's why this team's a contender. We all know this team's, a playoffs tier team. We all know this team's probably going to be very good in the regular season. Will that contribute to the postseason? Again, with the Lakers, I got to see it to believe it. So that's where the Sixers are going to come in at number 11. Number 10, we got the New York Knicks. The Knicks, a team that played very good last season. I expect them to build upon that. Do I think this team's a contender? No, I don't, to be honest. Julius Randle's a good player. What's his face? Brunson's a really good guard as well. They're a good coach team. They have a good bench, one of the best bench in the league, I think. But they don't have that star. I think that superstar player that's going to win you a championship in this league. So the Knicks are going to be number 10, and I don't think this team is going to be in the contenders tier. But maybe they can surprise me. Okay, let's go to the contenders tier. Starting out with number 9, we have the Miami Heat. And the Heat I'm just kind of reluctant on because obviously last season they just weren't the team we expected in the contenders tier, in the regular season, sorry. They just weren't the team, but then you go to the postseason, they go on a run to the championship and just losing to the dominant Nuggets team. So the Heat, this team is gotta be better in the regular season because I don't think they're gonna make another run as an 8 seed. But if they can get those things figured out in the regular season and go into the playoffs as a decent seed, they really only need to be like a 6-5 seed ish, to be, I think, make a run because we know what Jimmy Butler does in the postseason. We know how good this team is in that postseason. We'll see if they can do it. Once you get to like the 6th seed in the East, that's when things really get heated. That's the best. That's the cream of the crop from the Eastern Conference. So the Heat gonna come in at 9. Number 8, we're gonna have the Golden State Warriors. Stephen Curry and the Warriors looking to have another good season. And obviously, I'm not going to put the Warriors out of the contenders tier. This team is getting old, though. It's hard to write off the Warriors, though. Am I writing them off? Maybe I am. But this team is, you can't deny the facts. It's an older team, especially trading away Jordan Poole. If you have Stephen Curry, you're going to be a contender. But I think that might hold this team back from being at the very top of this league right now. So the Warriors are going to come in at 8. But, I would not be shocked if the Warriors finish off the season as Super Bowl or NBA champions. So the Warriors at number 8. Number 7, we have the LA Clippers. The Clippers this year, The Clippers, another uncertainty team. Can Kawhi Leonard, can Paul George stay healthy? They're coming into the season healthy. Can this year finally be different for the Clippers? I think it can. They obviously have the roster talent now. I'm not going to rank them top 5, top 4, number 1. They have the potential to be that good. That's how much the potential is for the Clippers. But honestly, I could see this team completely sliding to the play-in tier. With some of the concerns with George and Leonard the past few years. They got to figure some things out on that right there with Russell Westbrook, obviously, with the Clippers. So the Clippers at number 7. We'll see what happens with them. Number 6, the Sacramento Kings. I am confident that this Kings team is going to be good. This is what teams do. Breakout teams from the last season, really good in the regular season. Then they go out, they lose to the Warriors in the first round. It's tough, but this team's just getting started. De'Aaron Fox, a bonus. Their rookie Murray, very good team, man. This team is young. This team is hungry. I think this team is a very similar team to what we've seen in the past from like the Grizzlies, the 2020 Jazz comes to mind, that number 1 seed. I know the playoffs obviously didn't work out for us, but still, the Kings are going to be, I think, a very good team, and they're number 6 right now. I think it's time to take the Kings seriously right there. Number 5, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell, surprising team maybe this high for some people, but Donovan Mitchell, I think, is going to be bounce back season this time. He's going to be a very good player, as he always is for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He was looking like an MVP last season, especially with that 70-point performance. I really love the Donovan Mitchell. I've seen him in a Jazz uniform before, and I know how good he's been. And he was playing really good last season as well. So the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think, are going to be a great team. They're going to be tough to stop. They're a very good defensive team as well. So the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to come in there at number 5. Number 4, next up, we have the Phoenix Suns. The Suns here, the Suns are just one of those teams that, Kevin Durant, this team is very high offensive performances. I think this season with Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, KD, my gosh, that's a very good team. And they're going to be tough to stop. Defensively, that's when the issues come in. Is it a really concern when you got that kind of an offensive firepower? That's a question to be had, but still, that offense is going to be explosive, and that enough is to make this team a top 5 team in the NBA, and we'll see how good this team can be in the regular season. Number 3, we have the Boston Celtics at 3 here. The Celtics, we all know this team year in and year out is going to be top. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, obviously bringing in Drew Holiday is going to be big. The Celtics are looking to make a run finally this year and win the championship, to win what their 12th championship in NBA history, in their history. So, yeah, the Celtics looking to bounce back. We know what this team is. There's not too much to say about Boston. This team's going to be very good. They're going to be one of the best teams in the league, if not the best. Then number 2, we have the Denver Nuggets. So that means that the former champions are not going to be the 1 seed, which might surprise some people for Jokic and the Nuggets. But, we know what this Nuggets team is with Jokic, Murray. They were torching the league last year, even without Murray. Murray was out for a good amount of that season. They were still one of the best teams in the league. So the Nuggets win the championship last season. Hats off to them. But I do think the number 1 seed is the better team. Adding Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Damian Lillard, gosh, that is just a dynamic duo. And then this team was the best record team in the league last season. It obviously ended rough, but still. The Buccaneers, the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm really getting mixed up with football right now with football season going on. It's time to get focused on basketball as well. But yeah, the Bucks, number 1 seed. So, or number one team, in my opinion. Anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. Peace out.